I am 31 years old. Back when I was just a kid in high school, I would explore abundant places. First, it was just stuff in town that I could ride my bike to. But once I had my car, I went all over. October of my junior year, I had devised a plan to scare the hell out of my two little cousins. I was going to prank hunt them at an abandoned house. I just needed to find the right one. Luckily, my weightlifting partner had the perfect place. I called it the Hewit house. I will call him Billy, but that is not his name. Billy told me his grandfather was a farmer. He owned a ton of property, and the lot across the highway from him had a house on it. I had been empty about more than 10 years. Ever since this old woman who he originally purchased the land from had died also. I told him it sounded perfect. Old home, easy access, someone died in it. What more could I want? But Billy told me right then and there that this place really was haunted. He did not go in there alone. He never stayed long, and never at night. He then told me the story about how the house family transferred to his grandfather. See, his granddad bought all the land, about more than 80 acres, from this couple. The agreement was that once they passed the final plot, their house was one would then to exchange into his hands. Not long after the old man died, but the woman lived a while, just her and her dog all alone. One day, her granddaughter came out to visit, but when she got there, grandma would not answer the door, as if that was not concerning enough. He, damn dog, was barking and glowering like the devil himself was in him. She drove back across the street to tell Billy's granddad what was up. Billy's grandfather went over, found the dog in its state. He tried what he could to tamper the dog down, but eventually he gave up. He went back to his truck, got his gun, and killed the dog. They went in to check on the old lady, but the stand said enough. They think she had been dead maybe 2 weeks ago. Her faithful must waited most that before dining on parts of her limb. Well, now we had a story. That Friday, Billy, my girlfriend at the time, and myself drove out to the Hewit house. It was clearly abundant, the bushes in the front growing almost so large as to consume the front end. You could almost miss the house from the road, so high wall shrubbery. But we pulled into the drive and went across the back. The place was solid. It had settled some. The foundation must have sunken somehow. The door frames for some of the rooms were twisted. Some doors could not close. There was linen on the main floor, and the basement steps existing. The living room were all crooked. It was terribly astonished. Trash was happened everywhere. It looked like Billy had maybe come in and just broke shit at some time. We looked it over and it was creepy. You came in through the back kitchen. This led right into the dining room, which if I stood in the entrance of the kitchen, I could look left to the set of stairs going up and the set of stairs going down to the basement. Standing in the same position, I could look right into a bathroom that went straight through to a small bedroom. At maybe 10 o'clock was a smoke room, and at my 3 o'clock was a small open living room. That small living room also adjoined the tiny bedroom that connected to the downstairs bathroom. If we cleaned it up some, this would be a great space for my plan. After we looked around, we headed upstairs. It was small up there, only a small landing with a open access to an attic that was the roof over the kitchen and two small bedrooms with a quartered bath. The first bedroom had been swing room. The second, furthest down, had been the large with a small bath. The three of us checked it out openly, discussing ideas to scare my cousin when I sat on the bed inside the largest bedroom. I knew immediately what I had done. I got up like I had sat on a needle. Billy looked at me from the doorway, very pale like. I looked back at the old bed. The bare mattress shone a ruddy dark stain all along its frayed edges. It was like a pile of rust nails had been dumped there, or blood. That night we did some cleaning up. I set some items to the sides I used to scare my cousins. A couple chairs, some pans, a lamp blanket, and this creepy-ass doll. It was an old fabric doll with the old plastic head. The one everyone knows, where the eyes close as you lay it down. It was so old, rotted, and looked straight out of a horror film. I put it in the chair in the living room as I intended to make it a centerpiece. We came back a few times that October, take a couple bags of trash here and there and hang out. There was a lot of junk, but sometimes started to stick with me. First Billy never stayed long and he left as soon as the sun began to go down. This is middle of October, so in October it starts to set early, but the most alarming thing to me was the house itself. The doors were all jacked up, hard to open, near impossible to fully close, yet each time we came some would be open, some would be closed. Drawers in the kitchen would be on the floor, cupboards wide open, and the dolls would always be somewhere else. The second time we came, it was under the window. The third time I found in it smoking room. The fourth time I never found it. Halloween night was the big night. I ran out to a store and bought some glow in the dark paint, markers, fake blood, and snacks because horror is scary. Shopping made us late. So we go to the place around 8 p.m. It's after dark, so Billy is somewhere else. This just left me there to set up of the scares. We went in through the back door, through the kitchen, but both of us stopped dead at the entrance of the living room. My grandfather Gotham door was closed. I had this little maglite from my car. I shone it around, speaking aloud my observation when Jody says the chair is moved. Sure enough, the old metal rocker was against the window with that creepy doll on it. I could not believe it. I went right across the room and grabbed the doll. Jody took off behind me, running into the bathroom. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted, half scared, stupid. I spun around to some red hair in the light right behind me. "That's not me," she whispered, her voice shivering as she dug, confusing, gave way to an abstract terror as the door to the downstairs bathroom slams shut. Just behind her, I hear what can only be described as a gale force rush through the bathroom into the small bedroom. It blew its was through the bags of clothing and other stuff we had bagged and stuffed into a small bedroom as some makeshift dumpster. We ran out as fast as we could. Whatever was in that room just threw shit around like it was nothing. There was loud thuds and banging like the dressers were being toppled over. The old mattress were being swung at the wall. I made it to the door before Jody. I turned to make sure she followed with as yet another bang of the door could be heard. But there was no truck. Even as I sat in the drive, not wanting to pull out, hoping that maybe I could catch a glimpse of some light or someone in the shadow, but sights from the bushes up front, it was all just empty fields. Billy's truck was not home down the street at his grandfather's either, meaning he was not even home. I dropped Jody off, then went to grab my cousins. I told them what had happened. They did not believe. We grabbed some food, some drinks, and then went back to the Hewit's house. Once I got there, Billy and his friends was just arriving themselves. We went inside together. I did not say a word to them, but I was scared. We walked into the kitchen and I lost my breath. Every cupboard, every drawer, every door, everything was open. Much of the stuff we had cleaned up. It was all over the place again. The only thing that looked like I had left it was the bag of fake blood and Marcus lying in the middle of the room, right there in the living room. Billy and his friends tried scaring my cousin. They used firecrackers, shouted dumb ghost noises, and even went outside to the window at one point to bang on the glass. It was all just stupid, childish things, but for what it's worth, it worked a little for them in the years since. I have poked around inside a lot of abandoned places. I have had a couple strange experiences and ran into a two. But there has never been anything like the Hewit's house. You can still find the place if you find yourself out here. I drive by it myself from time to time. Its route has consumed much of it now. The structure is not safe, but to this day, every time I go by, I can still hear those footsteps, the doors, the Jody whispering. That was not me.